Welcome to the Cinema Gold Show. I'm your host, Larry Lease, and on today's episode, we continue our series, Dead on Arrival, first-timers watch of The Walking Dead. This week, we are on Season 10. Before we do that, give us a thumbs up if you like our videos, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification button to be notified of future videos. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. Now on to today's review of Season 10. The Walking Dead has been in a very weird place throughout much of its 10th season. The season proceeded well enough throughout its front half, at least, which focused on psychological warfare with the Whisperers, after Alpha and her faction of Walker's skin-wearing survivors became gradually more prolonged against the protagonist's survivor communities. However, at the later end of the season, The Walking Dead was hit with a number of bizarre setbacks. Denai Guerrera left the show to start, depriving The Walking Dead of Michonne, another of its lead survivors, and that was before the COVID pandemic amped up in March of the previous year. That was a whole other can of worms that AMC had a rather unique response to. Despite most of Season 10's back half also proceeding as planned in early 2020, AMC was ultimately unable to complete post-production on Season 10's originally planned finale, certain doom due to the recent ordered global COVID-19 lockdowns. Thus, they were forced to delay that one episode all the way to early October, airing it as a standalone special episode. That wasn't all, though. AMC also retroactively expanded Season 10 with 6 additional episodes after the pandemic, which aired in early 2021. Presumably as some kind of apology for the original season finale's delay, I guess. These 6 bonus episodes were presented in more of an anthology-style to boot, without a consistent overall season arc, unlike the majority of Season 10's proper episodes. Most significant, however, the COVID-19 pandemic and its further straining The Walking Dead's dwindling ratings finally led AMC to face the music with their rather long-in-the-tooth flagship original series. AMC announced during the early COVID months, The Walking Dead and its spin-offs were temporarily pulled off the air. That The Walking Dead would finally at long last be coming to an end, specifically in late 2022. The 11th season, which has been expanded even further to encompass a staggering 24-episode order, was confirmed to be its last, with the entire season set to adapt the lone remaining major story arc from The Walking Dead comic books, the Commonwealth arc. It's good that The Walking Dead's finally building towards an overall climax as well, because Season 10 largely represents a long-running series that's starting to lack focus, and it's quickly running out of places for its narrative to go. This lack of focus also results in some really scattershot writing, with some veteran characters particularly suffering this season. Carol is the worst example, suddenly regressing into a liability and a head case, one that largely exists to put Alexandria and the other communities in more danger. As much as Carol's fury towards Archvillain Alpha is justified, considering that her adopted son is dead and her husband divorced her, her behavior is inexcusably contrived throughout the season. She's not the only one either. Rosita found herself in a bizarre love quadrangle that never really felt like it had meaningful development. Sadiq was a bit of an exception here, but that's moot when he's killed early in the season, marking one of Season 10's few high-profile character deaths. The other noteworthy deaths in Season 10 were Earl, whose character didn't really have anywhere else to go anyway, and Beatrice, a character that never really stood out to any meaningful degree. On the latter side of character development, Negan had an especially good season in this case, one that took him to all sides of morality and purpose. Negan was an excellent wildcard throughout Season 10, even going on to serve as the almost exclusive focus of the true Season 10 finale, Here's Negan, a loose adaptation of the comic book of the same name. This episode went deep into Negan's surprising origin, including introducing us to his late cancer-stricken wife, Lucille, setting the stage for Negan's rise, fall, and redemption in the world of the Walker apocalypse. Negan also defined much of this season by embedding himself within the Whisperers, threatening to bring him back to his treacherous old ways. In the end, though, Negan proved to be the instrument necessary through which to kill Alpha, using false intel on Alpha's defected daughter to slice Alpha's throat and behead her, thus beginning the destabilization of the Whisperers, which would carry through to their ultimate destruction in a certain doom. The Whisperers themselves also continue to be standout foes, making some of the best antagonists on The Walking Dead since the Governor and Woodbury, or the Saviors before they got dull. Their subversive psychological tactics did some real damage to the survivor communities this season to boot, culminating in the destruction of Hilltop. Alexandria also saw quite a bit of strain under the repeated walker-fueled attacks of the Whisperers, though the 6 bonus episodes saw that community ultimately pull itself together again. Alpha's daughter Lydia also ends up fully joining with Alexandria in the end, giving the survivors another useful ally to eventually use against the Commonwealth. Speaking of the Commonwealth, their foreshadowing also works very well, which is why it's a shame that even Season 10's 6 bonus episodes offer very little focus on it. This story foundation is initially laid after Eugene's woes with Rosita lead to him contacting a mysterious woman named Stephanie over the radio, who eventually agrees to meet him. Taking Ezekiel and Yamiko, Eugene's party then has a chance encounter with a flamboyant lone survivor named Princess, a highlight personality that comes rather late in the game. Princess also headlines arguably the best of Season 10's 6 bonus episodes, which delves into her isolation, trauma, and decreasing mental instability, as she and Eugene's group are captured and interrogated by stormtrooper-like soldiers that pretty much certainly work for the Commonwealth. The result of inevitable capture may be the same in the end, but Princess's writing goes to show that The Walking Dead can still manage some pretty standout story arcs for its various personalities when it sets its mind to it. As for how these anthology-style bonus episodes fared overall, though, they were ultimately a pretty mixed bag, leading to Season 10 ending on an even weirder note than it otherwise would have. Had COVID-19 not happened, the Princess-centric episode Splinter, along with the proper season finale, were the definite highlights. Despite this, though, the Carol and Daryl tension that spun out from these bonus episodes, presumably meant to serve as a lead-in to AMC's Carol and Daryl-fronted spin-off series that's set to premiere in 2023, failed to really spark or generate much interest. Likewise, Maggie's return to the show, while exciting, hasn't gone anywhere that novel or interesting yet. This felt especially apparent in the disappointing A Certain Doom, which would have been much less satisfying end to Season 10 if it had remained the finale. So I guess if there was one upside to Season 10's 6 bonus episodes, it's the fact that the season didn't need to end on that sour note anymore. But this brings me back to how scattered and uneven Season 10 The Walking Dead ultimately felt, even considering its need to adapt to sudden actor departures, and the COVID-19 pandemic disrupting its production schedule and distribution. The true Whisperer war that punctuates this season feels appropriately horrifying, at least. Plus, some of the characters' work this season is admittedly pretty solid. Regardless, though, this season's uneven quality and scattershot storytelling lead to too much of it feeling frustratingly unmemorable and failing to register for the audiences. Perhaps some of this comes down to franchise fatigue, especially considering The Walking Dead's pandemic-flavored zombie apocalypse and frequently depressing tone felt especially uninviting in a post-COVID-19 world. Either way, though, The Walking Dead's best days are clearly behind it. For all of Season 10's occasional great narrative ideas and occasionally satisfying characterization, it's difficult to deny that The Walking Dead feels tired, but this year, even as its first spin-off, Fear the Walking Dead, saw a renewed creative spark in its current season. AMC continues to push their flagship Walking Dead series and the shared TV universe it inhabits. Excuse me. Like it's still the hottest thing on television a decade later, but if anything, that just makes The Walking Dead look especially desperate and detached from reality. At least AMC has finally resigned themselves to the fact that The Walking Dead is losing runway, though, and they've now set a clear release window for its series finale, having only one major story arc from the source comics left to adapt. I wouldn't go as far as to say Season 10 The Walking Dead is bad, it just feels messy, sluggish, and blatantly compromised. It's good enough, especially considering that the series found its own renewed creative spark under new showrunner Angela Kang last season, but even that feels like it's starting to retread the same old ground by this point. If you're still invested in The Walking Dead and its shared TV universe, even so many years later, then Season 10 of The Walking Dead has enough bright spots to satisfy you. It's also an indicative of the fact that The Walking Dead no longer has focus, though, and currently feels like it's dragging itself out for its own sake. We can certainly hope that the ambitious Commonwealth storyline will serve as that one last shot in the arm to go out with a bang next year. Or next season, I should say. But for now, The Walking Dead's penultimate season is a bit of an aimless slog. There's still some sinister, squeamish fun to be had during the Whisperer War, but the endless, unfulfilling grind of survival is really starting to wear on the audience as much as the characters. So, what was the good stuff with this show, or this season? It had an intense, unpredictable Whisperer War, Negan's standout journey to redemption, and the bonus episodes, while mixed, made for a nice final addition. The not-so-good stuff? The meandering, directionless narrative feels tedious. Some character arcs, especially Carol's, felt frustratingly contrived, and Maggie's return so far feels unsatisfying. And to leave this season, I'm going to leave a rating of, I'm going to go with 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't the worst, it wasn't the greatest, but hopefully we can end the series on a better note than what Season 10 left us with. So join us next week as we wrap up our series, Dead on Arrival, with our review of the final season. If you want to support the channel, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. As always, your support helps the channel grow, upgrade our equipment, bring this show on the road, and hopefully be able to hire more hosts and be able to pay them. And as always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We will see you next time.